Dead air. Mara Kingston's studio glittered with indicator LEDs, the soft thrum of her condenser mic, and the chat window scrolling so quickly that no human eye could follow it unaided. Echo Trace, her weekly live stream, had clawed its way to the summit of true crime podcasts by promising two things: absolute authenticity and a direct line to the voice of the people. Mara had the rare gift of making 20,000 simultaneous listeners feel as though she were speaking only to them. But on the humid June night that would come to be known as the Dead Air event, authenticity took on a new, more sinister dimension. She was midway through a segment dissecting an old cold case, the 2009 disappearance of fledgling singer Ruby Valentine, when the producer's light blinking over her monitor signaled an incoming live call. Mara relished spontaneous interactions. They lent her show a kinetic edge. She leaned toward the mic, eyebrows raised as if to gift her unseen caller a stage curtain flourish. "You're on Echo Trace," she intoned. "Tell the world what's on your mind." At first there was only labored breathing, shallow, frantic, as though the caller were doubling over from a sprint. A muffled thud, the scrape of something metallic. Chat moderators froze. "Hello?" Mara's stage voice fractured into genuine concern. "You're safe here. Talk to me." When words finally came, they spilled out, ragged and just north of a whisper. He's inside my apartment. I need help. Please don't hang up." Mara straightened. Gone was the story of Ruby Valentine. The air crackled with a different urgency. "What's your name? Where are you?" But the caller seemed distracted, keys rattling, perhaps wrestling with a deadbolt. I'm at 1427 Marigold Lane, 3rd floor. He's in the hall. Oh God, please." A slam. Glass shattered. The audience heard the caller's sharp intake of breath, then footsteps, then a single, truncated scream. And the line went dead. Not even a click, merely silence so pure it howled. For 4 seconds, Mara sat frozen, headset cupping ears that registered nothing but the blood rushing through them. Then the producer yanked the feed to commercial. Yet by the time sponsors' jingles chimed, Echo Trace's Discord server was already aflame with theories, timestamps, frantic screenshots of Zillow floor plans, and 911 auto-dial macros. Something epical had just transpired, and Mara's brand, her very existence, teetered at its epicenter. The Echo Trace subreddit swelled to 250,000 members overnight. Armchair sleuths pulled property records, cross-referenced names, and built collaborative maps marking every 1427 Marigold in North America. User Spectral Coyote swore they heard the distant whine of a freight train in the last 2 seconds of audio. Another, forensics fanatic, ran spectral analysis and posted a 31-page PDF alleging the glass break matched tempered balcony doors popular in 2015 condo renovations. Mara plunged into the maelstrom wearing 2 hats: investigative journalist and potential witness. She filed a police report, surrendered her raw audio, and replayed the call so often she memorized each micropause. Anxiety manifested physiologically, coffee tasted like rust, and she startled at her own reflection. Yet every viral milestone carried a barb. Within 48 hours, your dead air trended higher than national election coverage, and old interview clips of Mara resurfaced. Clips where she'd speculated, perhaps too confidently, about evidence in the Ruby Valentine case. "Notice the reverb in the confession tape," past Mara had declared, proving it was recorded in Ruby's rehearsal booth. Sharp-eyed Redditors now demonstrated that the reverb matched a public karaoke lounge, not a private booth. A single question sprouted tendrils. If Mara embellished that audio, what else had she doctored? The name that finally bubbled up and detonated was Leah Carter. 10 years earlier, Leah and Mara had been dorm room confidants attending a Midwestern journalism school. Leah wrote for the campus newspaper. Mara hosted the late-night college radio slot. In sophomore year, Leah's exposé on administrative embezzlement earned statewide accolades, followed by a plagiarism charge that crushed her scholarship and reputation. The star witness, providing time-stamped audio proof of Leah's deceit, had been Mara. Publicly, the two lost touch. Privately, Leah vanished. No social profiles, no alumni events, no forwarding address. and now a prescient comment on Echo Trace's forum posited a wild theory. What if the dead air caller was Leah, staging a perilous performance to avenge her ruined life? Mara clutched at Occam's razor. The simplest explanation was still a desperate victim in real danger. But each investigative avenue dragged her back to Leah. IP traces on the caller's line led to a county in Oregon. Same county where Leah's parents had retired. A blurred traffic cam still, time-stamped 3 hours after the call, captured a figure resembling Leah near a payphone. Mara's gut welded dread to guilt. She red-eyed through old hard drives, hunting the original audio she'd submitted against Leah a decade prior. What she found instead was an engineer's markup file, her own notes, outlining insert points for cross-faded ambience. She'd overlaid a clock tower chime, altering the timeline, nudging Leah's alibi into suspicious territory. Memory came barreling back. Late nights, deadlines, the lure of a clean cinematic narrative. She'd convinced herself it was harmless, sweetening. Now it roared like a siren. You framed Leah. Crucibles reveal character. Some protagonists double down. Mara chose confrontation. She recorded a bonus episode, released unannounced at 2 a.m., titled Correction Tape. In it, she confessed to altering the Leah Carter evidence and to pattern-matching facts until they fit a story arc. Her legal counsel begged her to reconsider. PR agents drafted statements laced with conditional verbs. Mara ignored them. She spoke plainly into the mic, voice wobbling, letting the listeners decide what she deserved. 3 hours later, her inbox pinged with a single untraceable video file. No subject line, no signature. She played it. Low-light phone footage showed a dim apartment corridor, walls painted a distinct sage green. A breathy female voice narrated. "This is the hallway sound you heard, Mara. Recognize the echo?" The camera pivoted to reveal a Bluetooth speaker lying in shards, the glass break from the live stream. "No one died tonight," the voice continued, "but your lies did." The lens at last flipped to selfie mode, framing a face half obscured by shadow. Leah Carter smiled, eyes wet with something between triumph and sorrow. "I needed the world to hear you fabricate in real time." The file ended with coordinates and a time, noon, the following day, at an abandoned community theater where Leah once stage-managed college productions. Mara felt the gravitational pull of those coordinates like a riptide. No police, no cameras, the metadata warned, or the full video would drop. The theater smelled of dust and ghostlight filament. Pigeons cooed in the rafters. Mara stepped onto the stage, palms up. Leah emerged from the wings clutching a handheld recorder. Fitting, Mara thought, that both their first and final weapons would be audio. Conversation unfolded in lamplight. Mara apologized without hedge, explaining the moral slippage that began as tidying up and metastasized into criminal misrepresentation. Leah listened, fingers white-knuckled around her device, then played a sample. Mara's doctored 2009 tape juxtaposed with untouched source audio Leah had secretly preserved. The contrast sounded like day and night. "What now?" Mara whispered, throat raw. Leah's answer was to set the recorder gently on the stage floor and crush it beneath her heel. "Now the story ends," she said, "for both of us." She exhaled as though purging a decade of tight-coiled rage, turned, and disappeared into backstage gloom. When Mara moved to follow, a door slammed and heavy chains rattled into place. She was locked in. Hours passed. The bulb flickered. Cell service dead zones cocooned the building. She could neither stream nor call for help. The irony tasted metallic. The woman who wielded dead air to manipulate truth now sat swaddled in literal punishing silence. Police eventually breached the theater after an anonymous tip. Leah had vanished like vapor. But on Mara's personal laptop, they later found a queued episode titled Final Transmission, set to auto-publish at midnight. It contained only a minute of Mara's breathing, followed by a whisper. "Truth is a live wire. Touch it, and the room goes dark." The court of public opinion toggled between sympathy and fury. Sponsors fled. Law enforcement weighed fraud charges. Yet within the academic discipline of media ethics, Mara's downfall became a case study. When storytelling eclipses truth, tragedy writes the epilogue. As for Leah, sightings dotted message boards, from Portland coffeehouses to Alaskan ferry terminals, none confirmed. Some claimed she'd launched an underground podcast titled Room Tone, where each episode was a single unbroken hour of ambient silence recorded in spaces linked to famous fabrications. The stage where Orson Welles broadcast War of the Worlds, the newsroom that birthed fake but accurate memos, and of course the gutted community theater in Indiana, where two young reporters once dreamed of changing the world with sound. Listeners debated whether these recordings were brilliant performance art or a broken woman's elegy. Either way, downloads spiked, proving the thesis both women already knew. In a noisy age, nothing magnetizes attention like the promise of hearing something that was never supposed to exist, or the cavernous quiet left when a trusted voice is exposed as false. And so the paradox looped on itself. Mara wrote a memoir from relative obscurity, wrestling with redemption. Leah, if it was Leah, continued to curate her museum of silence. The audience, eternally insatiable, stayed glued, because where mystery lingers, the play button waits to be pressed.